Hello again, everybody! So, as you can see, I've changed because, like I said in my before and after video, I had some things to do. And, yeah, now I'm ready. And, yeah, by the way, I didn't change the scenery, I just kind of tweaked the camera a little bit so you can see this poster in its entirety and everything over here, because I think it looks better this way. Anyway, so First Man. Let's talk about First Man. What can we talk about First Man? First of all, let me just address this. This movie had already opened worldwide about a week ago, and I was so bummed out that it didn't open here yet because I really wanted to go see it. But it finally opened here this week, or actually this day. And so I was literally first in line, and when I say first in line, I mean that in the literal sense of the word. I was literally just the first person in at least my, the theater that I usually go to. I was the first person that actually bought the ticket. So, and the theater manager was standing up beside me, and he obviously knows me because I go to a lot. So, yeah. He saw me and he said, "Oh, so you're the first man to go to the First Man." The fact of the matter is, I almost was the only man, because it was literally just me and some other guy sitting there, which I mean, I didn't really talk to him that much, but I could have sworn he was like a critic, and a critic who just had to be there, otherwise he wouldn't have gone there. So yeah. An empty theater, which is a sad reality that not a lot of people went to see this movie because it was an amazing movie. But then again, it's not really a movie that speaks to the targeted demographic in this country, or at least this city. It's a movie about the first American person to land on the moon. The key word here being American, and while this country is American friendly, we accept a lot of things from America. We love America. We have a great working relationship with America. This is clearly not America. I mean, if they did a movie about Elon Ramon, well, everyone would go out to see that. The first Israeli man to go to space, and of course the tragedy that happened to that poor man, and unfortunately also his son. But First Man is the movie that depicts the events of Neil Armstrong, specifically focusing on the man behind the event. That's why the movie itself was named First Man, because it's not the movie isn't called The Moon Landing or First Man on the Moon. It's called First Man. Once again, keyword being men. This is a movie about Neil Armstrong, the person. And I'm not gonna go into spoilers, but this movie explores so much of this guy's life. About 7 or 8 years of his life. It shows his relationship with his wife, his relationship with his children, some of the tragedy in his life with his friends, with his family, the trials and tribulations of him, not just as an astronaut, but as a pilot. All of that stuff. A lot of this stuff I didn't even know happened, and the truth of the matter is, I don't even know how much of that stuff actually happened, because I know this movie is technically based on a true story, but the thing is about based on a true story movies is they don't really show everything exactly the way it happened. They kind of change the narrative a bit for the sake of the story, which is fine and completely acceptable in Hollywood, as long as the final product is a very good and compelling story, which is the case with this movie. I mean, just look at The Greatest Showman. The movie takes one of the most despicable human beings that never ever lived, and basically makes him a hero and an engaging person that you root for. And that's one of my favorite movies of the last few years. But that's probably not the best example for First Man. But so to truly understand the life of Neil Armstrong, you probably need to watch a documentary or just read up on him. And I don't know Neil Armstrong personally. I never knew the guy. I'm sure he was a wonderful human being, as far as I can tell. But still, he's a complete stranger to me. And this little inside look into his life, I enjoyed it, whether or not it was real or whether or not it was a slightly altered version of history for the sake of the story. The director of the movie is Damien Chazelle. You guys probably know him as the director of the almost Oscar-winning La La Land, and by almost I mean no Best Picture, because you probably have heard of the famous story that happened there. But he also did another, I believe it was an Oscar-nominated movie in Whiplash a few years ago. I haven't watched Whiplash, but I watched La La Land and I loved it. I thought it might have been too long for my taste, but I loved it. It was, for the most part at least, a happy, joyful movie. So to see him go from that kind of storytelling to this, it was a shocker. I mean, the first 10 or 15 minutes of the movie just is similar to the first few minutes of Up, where it just punches you right in the gut, yanks your heart out, and just crushes it in front of your eyes. I mean, again, no spoilers. It's something that really hits hard, and it stays with the protagonist, being Neil Armstrong, and with you, the audience member, for a very long time after that. And in my opinion, I haven't seen this in a lot of other people's reviews, but in my opinion, that was the driving force behind the movie. It was the reason Neil Armstrong got up every morning and did what he did, and what he thought he had to do in the service of his country. And that story element was one of the hardest things to swallow. And I remember during the first few minutes of the movie, I just sat there with, again, no spoilers, but Ryan Gosling was crying in one of the first few scenes of the movie. And I remember just sitting there eating my popcorn, and I just felt like a complete douchebag for enjoying myself watching this guy suffer. It made me feel horrible, but I got over it pretty quick because the movie really picks up steam after that. I never once was bored by that movie, I can tell you that. I've read a few reviews online saying that people thought this movie could have been a bit shorter. I actually say the opposite. I mean, every scene that was in the movie, as far as I could tell, needed to be there. There wasn't a single second wasted, and in fact, I would have easily enjoyed 20 more minutes of it, maybe even half an hour, especially of the third act, which we'll get to in a moment. But this movie was an emotional roller coaster ride, from going from just one tragedy to another, with very few brief moments of happiness, kind of like the Deadpool analogy that life is just a long series of train wrecks with a few commercial breaks in the middle. That was my experience with First Man. That's what I thought of it. And yeah, so the movie really got me. The performances, obviously, by Ryan Gosling and Claire Foy, who played his wife. Yeah, those were some heavy-hitting performances. Now, the thing is, I've heard people mention that Claire Foy was the person to look out for in the movie. She was... a lot of people consider her to be the performance that made that movie. I strongly disagree with that. I don't have that big of a problem with her performance. I think she was a magnificent actor who did her job perfectly, a lot better than a lot of other actresses I know, but her character kind of felt like a distraction through a lot of the scenes, and she really brought her A game in every scene that she was meant to be in, but still, the character I didn't think was written very well, and I only did really notice one very particular scene, which is one of the last few scenes you get to see her and hear her speak, but that was the scene that drove the point home for me, that sort of redeemed that character in my eyes. The main point of the movie, to me at least, was Ryan Gosling as Neil Armstrong. That was the main driving force behind the movie, in my opinion. I've heard a lot of people say that he was too cold, too emotionless, lifeless. I strongly disagree with that. I mean, there were moments of that, but for the most part, I think I completely understand why he acted the way he did, why he was so cold and emotionless, because of certain tragedies that happened at certain moments of the movie, which you will see once you actually see the movie, if you will. I hope you will, because it's an amazing movie. But Ryan Gosling, he's literally the reason to watch this movie. That, I mean, him and the actual moon landing itself, which is amazing, by the way, but him and the moon landing are the main reasons, in my opinion, to go see that movie and enjoy yourself, despite some of the less enjoyable moments in it. Now, before I even saw the movie, I heard a lot of people mention this, that Buzz Aldrin, as portrayed by Corey Stoll, I heard here that he was portrayed as a dick, and he was not a very pleasant person to work with. I didn't really see it that much. I mean, he was a huge dick through most of the scenes that he was in. Then again, he really wasn't in that movie all that much. Like, really, he had 3, 4, maybe roughly 5 scenes where he was like the second or third character in the scene, but yeah, in those scenes where he appeared, and he pretty much was a schmuck, and yeah, that's a word, by the way. So yeah, I didn't think Buzz Aldrin was portrayed that badly, and especially during the end, once the actual moon landing happens, I mean, he's just an average dude. The second man to land on the moon. That's an honor. So I really don't know what people's beef with Buzz Aldrin was, but hey, those people who said it are probably a lot smarter than me. So yeah, who am I to judge, right? Overall, I think First Man is a very solid, very beautiful looking movie. The shots of the actual spaceships, if you would have told me that this movie was shot and directed in space, I honestly would have believed you. I couldn't tell which of the launch sequence scenes were actual spaceships and which were some just effects and movie trickery. I literally thought some of the shots were just footage from satellites in space, because that's just how good the space scenes look like. And when they land on the moon, I literally thought, or I felt like it was me in there. I felt that I landed on the moon. That's how good and realistic this movie portrays the moon landing. It's amazing. It's an amazing experience. I said this in my before and after video. I think this is a movie that every sci-fi fan should watch at least once in his life. It's an experience. It's an eye-opener. I mean, it literally just shows you that, hey, we did it. Whether or not it was the Americans or the Russians or whoever, doesn't matter who got to the moon first. The fact that we, as a species, as human beings, we landed a person on the moon. Every human, since the dawn of humanity, whenever the sun has set and he looked up at the stars, the thing that really popped the most was the moon, the most noticeable thing in the night sky. And what person hasn't had that moment of imagining himself landing on the moon? I'm sure you may have had it. I certainly have had it a lot. And you know, I always just sit here and I talk about my favorite heroes, you know, the Spider-Man and Thor, and I'm really not good with the hands today, the Hulk, all these guys, all these people that I enjoy watching so much, the heroes. We always forget these people of history that are really just heroes in their own right, heroes of humanity, heroes to the people. The people that did the impossible. These people just get overlooked, and that's a sad reality, but it's true that people like Neil Armstrong and, yes, Buzz Aldrin. I hope Buzz Aldrin isn't watching this review right now, but yeah, these people just unfortunately get overshadowed by the heroes of fiction, which is, again, a sad thing, but they deserve all the credit in the world, all the credit in the solar system, because they actually, you know, they've been up there. And yeah, I really don't know how else to sell this movie anymore. The shots look beautiful. The moments where you're actually inside the space shuttles or the testing grounds, they really just portray these moments from the point of view of the people in these machines, and how dangerous it is, and how risky, how life-threatening this kind of thing is. And so, yeah, if you ever thought of being an astronaut, this movie might dissuade you a little bit from being one, knowing the kinds of things that astronauts have to go through in their journey to get to where they're going. But yeah, First Man, what an incredible movie. And please, if you have a little bit of money left on the side, just go and give First Man a shot, because I think it's a movie that, not even for the money, I mean, this movie deserves to be seen. That's my assessment of the situation. So, I really hope you enjoyed this review. I really hope I didn't babble on for too long, as I am prone to do, because, yeah, I know I'm just the worst. And looks like the ghosts are talking to me right now. So, thank you for watching, and remember, guys, always dream big. Dream of going to the moon. Not this big floating eyeball thing. The other one in the actual sky. You get it. Hello again, everybody. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to my channel where I do all kinds of weird stuff like showcase all these things, you know, trailer reactions, movie reviews, all kinds of fun stuff. So, until next time, I'll see you guys next time.